All right, what's going on internet? My name is Daniel, and sorry about interrupting the previous video so early, but here you can see the working example on my web server, and it's running index.php, and we have our home, and we have our about, and we have our contact, etc., etc., etc. That's not going to work yet because our links are still hooked up to something that don't exist yet. So what we'll do is we'll easily just go ahead. All right, I'm just going to show you that each of these works, by the way. So let's go to blog.php, and you can see it has the same header and footer. But these now point to something that doesn't exist. These all don't work, and you can verify that by saying, okay, on the index, it doesn't yet work, as you can see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how. Okay. I don't know why that. Just delete that probably. Okay, so I'm going to show you why this is so powerful. Because we know that we have all our links in the header, and we also have our CSS in the header, but it is being used. So all we have to now do is inside the header, and this will be kind of weird. So let's see what happens if we just change these to PHP, all right? And save the file. I'm going to show you something. So refresh this, I'll say about, and that works, and contact. Oops, I think I've screwed that up somewhat. Yes, I did. Oh God. Okay, so we're just going to go in here. And then change that to the just so you know that I'm not messing with you, and this is all working. It's just my kind of mistake. Why? I do have something here. This is the contact.php. So what about the about? Okay, I messed everything up here. So I'm going to see that this is the about page. I like them to be not messy at all. So let's just, you know, correct these mistakes. And you can see I don't have much of a file to work with. So yeah, now you can see the contact, and the blog is working, and I could have pagination down there. And each of these, notice that each of these will now have the menu bar fixed. And that's awesome. And you know what else is awesome? Is that because this is the file that requires this template. Notice that our header is inside the templates folder, and we only add it, we only specify that we want this href to point to index.php. And you notice there's no index.php inside the templates folder, but it doesn't care about that because it doesn't look into that folder. It actually looks into the folder in which the index file is in. So the folder which required that file. Okay, so there's one other method to use here, and I recommend you use that for footers if you want to mix something up, and that's the same thing, but you'll use include. Okay, so when you save that and you go back to the index page and you refresh, you'll see that nothing changed. It still has that file. The difference between include and require is that should that file not exist, so I'm going to rename this to header.0.php. Enter. All right, so now this file doesn't exist, and you can see I get a failure and a fatal error. Now that's not good for me, because if I mess something up, I don't want my whole website to break. All right, let's just verify that it now works again. But what happens if I have this included, not required, with my footer? So let's rename this, and then let's say 0, and then let's save that, and then we reload this, and you can see I don't get a full fatal error, I only get a partial fatal error. And that's only concerning my footer, not the whole file. So everything else loads, and that's cool. And now we can verify that here everything else, you know, works. Okay, so including things is safer than requiring them, because if you decide to require them, you might end up breaking your code. Whereas including them, of course, will kind of be more forgiving. But that only applies when you do things like, you know, some more advanced stuff, like requiring like functions and a login system and whatever. If you make a mistake with that, then you know this will come in handy if it doesn't break your whole website. All right. So the last thing, I'm going to check how much time I have on my recording, because it's only 10 minutes that's available for me. So the last thing we'll look at is going to be an MVC framework. Okay, and MVC frameworks are available on ASP.NET. They are available on PHP as well, and then they are available on JavaScript. So there's a couple of different methods that you can go about it, but today we'll look at JavaScript MVC, because JavaScript, of course, is harder to do model view controller on. Let's take a look at what it's like. So in JavaScript, it works like this. So you have a model, you have a view, and you have a controller. It's what the MVC stands for. And you have a core application API, and this is on the server and this is on the client side. So the server will work to serve the client side, and then the client side can do callbacks, which will, you know, load up one of the views from the server, and that will be decided by the controller. So the controller will tell you, or tell the server which view it should serve, and the view's functions are decided in the model. So you probably, if you're just looking at basic templating in PHP, HTML, PHP is your go-to method, because JavaScript MVC frameworks take a little more time to learn, and they also take a little more time to get used to, and they can be kind of sketchy when it comes to displaying some of the files. And on this picture, you can take a look at what's the most popular MVC framework, and that's called Angular. That's from Google, and the second version came out recently, so you can go ahead and give it a try. They actually have a very easy to follow demo, but Angular is not something I would definitely use for that kind of stuff. Backbone is also fun, and Ember, and something that people also like to use is React, which is from the Facebook team. And I think that's about it. What you can also decide to use is Node.js. Now, to use Node.js, I'm going to have separate tutorials for this, but Node.js is capable of achieving this, but it's not a framework. So for Node.js, you have to use different extensions such as Express. They call them libraries. So you can use Express, okay, whatever, and that will also allow you to serve those files. But that's more like a single page web app or something like that, which is where this comes in handy. Other than that, I think we've covered the basics of how to template with HTML. If you want, you can give JavaScript a try. And I'm going to have a couple of videos coming soon, which will teach you how to do that. So thank you very much for watching. Go check out my other videos. And other than that, have a nice day and bye-bye.